Welcome to the CNC Auto Show, and I am Aaron Clements.
I'm John Ryan.
And we are here to share some information that will make your car, truck, or SUV safer, to make it more dependable, and to make it last longer for less money. And we want to say thank you to each and every one of you that tuned in or logged in, and we really do appreciate you jumping in and riding with us in the CNC Auto Show. And we are here to take those phone calls. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10. That's at 706-863-5800. You can also go to ccautoshow.com and watch the show live. You can email your question in, watch past shows, all kind of great things.
Even some funny moments of you.
Yeah, now you might see that in you also, John. I've seen it. I have seen it before.
No proof.
Yes. Okay, this show is also brought to you by Napa Heating and Cooling Systems and also NGK Spark Plugs. And the number again to join the fun, 706-863-5800, Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10. And John Ryan, this is going to be a smoking good show, man.
Yeah, I got the actual idea of what it is, so it should be pretty good.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. Because as a matter of fact, I think it's one you especially will enjoy.
Yeah.
Because it has to do with cool garages.
There you go.
Things that you can do with your garage. You know, a lot of people just use a garage as a place to where if something needs to be done, let's say you hadn't had a chance to pack back up the decorations or do this or do that, so you just kind of
the catch-all.
Yeah, you store it in the garage. But garages can do a lot more than that, a huge amount more. And actually, you can have a lot of fun with your garage. So during today's show, we're going to be talking a little bit about cool garages. And also during the show, if someone has an idea of something that they have done with their garage that they want to share a tip with, they can do that. So buckle up, hold on, and here we go. And we have a special caller on the line now. And actually a friend of mine, and he has done something special with his garage. Let's bring Richard on.
All right.
Hey, Richard, welcome to the CNC Auto Show.
Yeah, good morning. How are y'all?
Doing good. I appreciate give you a call. I'm going to give a little background of why I asked you to call us this morning. And you have a 1958 Biscayne, and you love that car, and you wanted to build it its own little house. And tell us a little bit about what you put together and why you did it there, Richard.
And I think he squeezed a Jeep in there too.
Yeah, I believe the Jeep will fit also. So, Richard, what'd you do?
Well, I was trying to decide whether to move or build a garage to help protect the car and have a place to work on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to build and got it done. And just the overhead door to my garage door. And then they, talking with them, they have this screen door that you can have inside. So when you open up the regular door, you can pull the screen door down.
Oh, nice.
It allows some airflow and gives you a little bit of privacy. And it has actually a sliding door in the center that you can walk through.
Oh, wow.
So I think that was about the best thing I put out there. It keeps the bugs out and helps with some airflow.
So you get the air can flow through the place, so it stays a lot cooler, and also you get a little bit more privacy even though the door is open, because you really can't see through it really.
Yeah, like on the side, you can't see through it. Yep.
Right. They have different size screens. They have some that are real thin that allows the max air.
Uh-huh.
And then there's one they call the super screen. It's lifestyle screen doors is what they call.
Uh-huh.
And I got the super screen to allow it to be more private. That way when I have the door down during the day, you really can't hardly see in.
That's great.
At night, when you have the light on the inside, you can see inside.
Very nice.
They have the reverse effect.
And Richard, has that really been a good thing, you building the garage so that you could enjoy working on the Biscayne and protect the Jeep and just kind of have a place to work on different things? Has it been a good investment for you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I enjoy going out there and just fiddling around. I've left the walls kind of rustic with the particle board.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That way it has more garage feel.
It's easy to hang stuff on the wall too.
Oh yeah, I got a lot of hubcaps, car part things hanging on the wall. A whole bunch of car tags I've accumulated over the years.
And Richard,
They
what's
even
the
have
dimensions of it? Do you remember?
It's 24 by 24.
Okay, well, that's
Very
a good
nice.
size shop.
Well, Richard, I really do appreciate you calling in. Hey, do me a favor if you get a chance, maybe during hour two, give us a call back and let's talk a little bit more, because some people are not able to catch the first hour, but they can catch the second one. So if you don't mind, give me a call back and let's cover a few of those things again. I think that can be very helpful to a lot of people to know things that they can do with their garages now.
Okay.
All right?
Sounds great.
Sounds good. I do appreciate it. Okay, that's Richard Hewitt, 58 Biscayne,
Yep.
that he has done a beautiful job of keeping in track. John Ryan, where we're going?
Next up's Paul. We got about 4 minutes before break.
Hey, Paul, welcome to the CNC Auto Show, and what can we help with?
Welcome so much.
Mhm.
Well, last week I bought a new Ford Mustang GT with 25 miles on it. And when
Whoa!
I got it
We can
home,
change
I was
that for you.
cleaning it up, and on the passenger side, the door handle that has the little sensor that locks and unlocks
Mm-hmm.
wasn't working. So I took it back the next day to the service center, and they were going to look at it, and I said, well, I got a couple of little errands, and I'll be right back. And on my first little errand to the insurance company, it started working. So I called them and said, well, it's working.
Uh-huh.
Well, of course, the next morning, it wasn't working again. So I drove it back down to the service center, and when I got there, it was working. And they said, well, let us look at it. And they checked it out. They said they reprogrammed it. Took it home, drove it a little bit. The next morning, wasn't working. And so I've kind of gone back and forth with it, and now it's worked for pretty much a day. And I'm just wondering, is that what they call lot rust? I've heard that term where something, I mean, this car had spider webs on it, or could it be that the battery wasn't fully charged, or I just didn't know. I told them at the dealership, well, I know it's hard to fix something that's not broke, so
Mm-hmm.
you know, if it stops working completely, I'll bring it back, and y'all will at least, not be shooting in the dark.
Well, that's kind of the good thing, Paul, that you've gone ahead and let them know that it does have this issue. That way,
Right.
it does.
They filled out the paperwork.
Right. That way, in 6 months, if it did just stop working, all of a sudden, hopefully they'd help you out with it, as far as the cost and whatnot. Those systems are, they've come a long way. Of course, the key is detected, and when you push that, obviously it unlocks it. Did you do anything different with the key, maybe on the passenger side versus the driver's side?
No, and the lock and unlock works from the fob and
Right.
works from the interior lock and unlock.
Okay, that was going to be my
Yeah.
suggestion, to put a battery in it, just to kind of rule that out. But
Yeah, it's the fob works good everywhere. I know they have had some problems with the fusions and some different different Ford products with sensors and trash and things like that. One thing that kind of concerns me, one of the fixes, I believe, on the Fusion is Ford in their ultimate wisdom. You replace the handle, not the sensors in the handle, so
right.
you get a primed handle, and then you have to match the paint, which
Yeah, exactly.
kinda
Have to paint it.
scary.
Hey, Paul, can we put you on hold through the break and kind of cover that when we get
Sure.
back?
Yeah, and we'll also
Sure.
do a little research. We'll put our whole research department on this also, Paul. Okay, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Eastbound and down, loaded up and trucking. Are we gonna do what they
And
say?
we are back with you on the CNC Auto Show, and we are ready to answer those phone calls. And the number 706-863-5800. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10. And you can also watch the show at ccautoshow.com. And if you have a spring or a summer trip planned, do not forget to have those belts and hoses checked out. They are number one on the list of preventative preventable breakdowns. And if you need belts and hoses, I recommend the best. That's Napa hoses and belts. And I'm gonna mention this just before we go to the caller. A fairly inexpensive way to organize your garage is to buy some of those shelves and plastic storage bins at places like Lowe's or Home Depot or Sam's, and you can label them such as sports items, Halloween or Christmas decorations, and that way, if you need something, you can go right to that particular bin.
That's right.
And are we ready to go back to
Yeah, let's go back to Paul.
Paul?
Yep.
Hey, Paul, John Ryan
Yes,
has
sir.
done a huge amount of research, and we have come up with absolutely nothing.
Absolutely.
I mean, nothing. But
It's not a huge evidence.
Paul, one question that we had for you though is this always do it when it's at your house, or does it do it at other places besides at your house?
I don't think it's done it at any place but my house. I drove it to work.
Yeah, that's
one
what we were.
day, 8-hour
Whoa.
shift, worked fine. And I had wondered if it was something related to sitting overnight. I went and checked it this morning. I didn't drive it to work yesterday, and it worked fine.
Well, Paul,
about
not
30
necessarily,
minutes ago.
not necessarily just your vehicle, but several vehicles with the smart key or smart fob, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of information basically telling you that interference can happen. Different Bluetooth items, say, your hands-free headset can interrupt it, Wi-Fi can interrupt it, several different things, including your cell phone. So that's why we were wondering if it was just at your house. For instance,
Well, now that could be. I don't have Wi-Fi myself, but I would feel sure some of the neighbors may have that. And I have gotten some kind of weird signals, like like from a CB radio or ham.
Paul, do you ever
radio
hear any
from time to time.
strange sounds around the house?
like craters in the backyard.
No UFOs yet.
Yeah. Now, you very well
uh,
could have some interference there, Paul. What I'd recommend doing, let's try to narrow it down, and you can do this research for the CNC Auto Show. You can park your car in that spot for a certain number of days.
Yeah, do
And
it
see
for
if it
5
does
days.
it like 2 out of 5 days or 3 out of 5 days, and see if it does it. Park it in that same spot, and then park it
Okay.
at another place, preferably my house, and I'll keep
In your garage.
yeah, in my garage. And then, in other words, park it in another place. Does it do it there?
Right.
That amount.
The only thing that kind of throws me off is it's only doing it on the passenger side, but I mean, we are talking about frequency, so it still could be,
His
interrupted.
neighbor. That's where the problem is. The neighbor on the other side.
Their Wi-Fi is pretty
Yeah,
strong.
he's got this extra strong Wi-Fi that
Yeah.
that may even crank your car one night, there, Paul.
And open the garage and
Yeah.
car go by.
Yeah, and not to
Well,
mention
one thing
radiation.
when, like I say, I first got it. I drove it back down to the dealership the next morning, and it was not working
Uh-huh.
until I continued to drive it. So that's why I thought
Oh.
it might be
A voltage thing. Right.
Yeah,
you know,
you're
with the
probably
battery
right
sitting there.
there. If it was doing it after you had left your house, then that throws our complete theory and
Yeah,
out
yeah,
the
that would
window.
be the only
And
thing
and
there.
I do
But
low voltage will definitely cause different issues. So I would do what you're already doing. Give it some time, drive it, and that way it'll give the battery a chance to build up real good.
Yeah.
And just see how it does. But you did great going ahead and having that noted at the dealership. So if you do have problems, you'll still be covered.
And I just want to say, if y'all have not had any experience with the new Coyote motor with the 10-speed automatic,
Uh-huh.
it's an awesome thing.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I'm the guy that had the Viper, and I basically did a little less than swap even my Viper for this new Ford GT.
Nice.
And I've got to say, this car is probably, with me driving, with my limited driving skills in the Viper, this Ford GT is much quicker.
Oh,
Yeah. Wow, that's
well, I
awesome.
know you're going to enjoy that, Paul. Hey, get us a picture of that on the CNC Auto Show page.
I'm still in without a cell phone.
Okay.
So if I could get somebody to do that, I'd love to. It's pretty. It's metallic black, But hey, I appreciate y'all so much. And let me say one thing real quick. Y'all were talking about the garages.
Uh-huh.
In my backyard, I had a failed garage attempt with one of these $100, kind of tent-like structure things.
Right.
And the reason it was failed because I did not properly prepare the ground and got the cost up. But what I was going to say, the good thing about those is you don't have to have a building permit. So,
That's right. It's temporary.
You're looking at $100, and if you secure it well, it can last for years and years and years. So
Wow.
it's a cheap way to get a little shelter.
Great tip.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
Paul, thank you
All
very
right, my
much.
friends, thank you so much.
All right.
We do appreciate it.
Fred's up next.
Let's do it. Hey, Fred, welcome to the CNC Auto Show. And what can we help you with today?
All right. Last month I called about an oxygen sensor code, and that worked out well. But on the same vehicle, I didn't know this code was there because I didn't look for it. It's not coming from the check engine light. It's in the seatbelt restraint system.
Mm-hmm.
And it says something about driver frontal deployment loop open. So I'm thinking there's an open circuit where the because the airbags in the steering wheel and that turns. Is that something that I could fix, you think?
There's some testing procedures that would need to be done, Fred, just to be absolutely sure. And typically, it requires a airbag simulator, which is a small. It's really just like a little box that has a certain amount of resistance, normally about 2 ohms. And you install it there, and then of course you kind of back probe the clock spring and see if it has 2 ohms. Basically, you're removing the airbag system. We can go over a lot more of that diagnostics if you don't mind holding through the break.
Okay, and I got one other question. Oh, well, there's one other vehicle I got to ask you something on too. So do you want me to?
Yeah, if you don't
ask
mind
that
holding,
now?
you can ask that as soon as we return. All right, Aaron.
Okay, we are going to take a real quick break, and when we return, we'll be going back to Fred, then we'll be going to Bobby, and then the other callers, and we will also be talking about garages, really cool garages, and ideas and tips on that. So hold on, we will be right back with more of the CNC Auto Show.
My uncle bought new in '64. Daddy got it right, cause the engine was smoking.
And we are back with you with the CNC Auto Show. If you got a question about your car, truck, or SUV, you give us a call, 706-863-5800. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern Time. And you can also send questions in and watch the show live at ccautoshow.com. John Ron, we were talking with Fred.
Yes, we were. And I'm just going to remind you, you need to throw out the tech tip after Fred. How about that?
We would do that. We will toss it right out there.
Okay, so Fred, you mentioned that you had a code having to do with the frontal deployment loop on the driver's side on a vehicle.
B0026.
Right. And there's typically how a technician would do that is install a simulator, and a simulator does just that. It simulates the airbag system. And the reason you use that is because when you're testing it, especially the wiring and the integrity of the wiring, you really need to disable the airbag system. So what you would be doing is checking your simulator. So a simulator normally has about 2 ohms in it, and you would plug that into the airbag connector at the steering wheel, and then you would go to the after the clock spring, which would be further on down the column, and see if you have 2 ohms of resistance at the bottom of the connector. And of course, if you did, that's telling you that the clock spring's correct. The only other thing I would add to that is you do need to turn the steering wheel to make sure it constantly has 2 ohms. Obviously, because it could be making contact, say going straight but not turning right. So that's one thing that would be done. That is the most common, a clock spring issue. There's very rarely an issue with the airbags themselves, just because of course they're made so well and they have dual loops in them and all that kind of stuff. So I do feel like it could be a clock spring. The only other thing that I could say is just try to blow the horn, see if it still works. A lot of times when clock springs go out, if the cable actually snaps in there, that of course, keeps the continuity. That's just a quick test. Doesn't mean that it's cut and dried, but just something to try.
And Fred, one quick answer to part of your question was, is that something you could possibly do yourself? I feel like changing the clock.
Sure
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could do that. I have a 2 ohm. I know I got a 2 ohm resistor in my electronic junk box. So
the biggest thing I was going to mention though is just following the procedure on disabling the airbag, because it makes a bad day when you're doing something like that, and then all of a sudden you hear something go boom, and all of the other airbags go off.
But you do end up finding the problem. You need
Yeah,
an
you
airbag system after
yeah,
that.
you need everything then.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay, I got there's another vehicle. I never worked on a Duramax before, but there's a '09 Duramax diesel pickup truck. And there's two things wrong with it. It says I have an open glow plug circuit and
Mhm.
number 8 cylinder.
Yeah.
And if I look at that, I can't even figure out exactly where it is, like, you know what I mean? The vehicle is like tight in there and kind of
Oh, Paul, you wouldn't.
everything looks
Or
like
sorry,
it's
Fred.
covered up.
Fred, you wouldn't believe it's very easy to get to. The inner fenders come out. They're all just with
Okay.
push clips, and
Right.
they would, if it was a snake, it'd bite you. They're right there in front of you. Very simple to change. Very accessible. You know, a lot of the other vehicles, they're in the valve covers and stuff like that. These are external
Right.
to the cylinder head. A little 8 millimeter nut holds the wire on. 10 millimeter pulls the glow plug out. Only thing I would add to that is you know, a lot of people say don't ever pull spark plugs, don't ever pull any bolts out when aluminum's hot. I actually think
Right.
the other way. I like to get it hot, saturate it with PB Blaster or WD-40, and then let it cool down. With that, you know, of course, penetrating oil in there, and then break it free.
Okay, thanks for that. Now, there's another code here. This says a differential pressure sensor for the particle filter. Now, I see a sensor under the vehicle, right?
Right.
Is there a way I can test that? I put an ohm meter on it, and it says shorted or continuity, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Well,
You know, I took it out.
was the code a circuit code or was it a performance code?
Okay, the code, the number was let me see. It was P2454.
2454. I think that's performance, if I'm not mistaken. I can look that up for you. But if it's a performance issue, that can actually tell you that the particulate is could be restricted. Of course, there's an
Okay.
inlet temperature and an outlet temperature, and that's kind of how it determines, of course, obviously the efficiency of it. And if the pressure sensor is reading high voltage, of course, it could be a bad sensor. That's typically more of a performance code again. If it's a circuit code, you're right. It could read open. It could be, you know, shorted. The only other way I know to fix that is to accidentally remove it.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I was talking about the whole emission
No,
system.
but I mean, if you did take it out, would it change? Would it change the reading?
It
just
should.
give you a different code?
It should, yes. If you have a scan tool that has, of course, live data on it, you could, you know, of course, remove it and just make sure that the data changes. That would be obviously with it running. That way you could see what the,
Right.
you know, whether it has a restriction or not. But yes, that would definitely tell you that.
Okay. Well, hey, do you know if that pressure sensor is an expensive part or not?
You know,
If you wanna
honestly,
guess.
I mean, anything's expensive on a diesel, but it's not an astronomical part. No, it's not.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much about them glow plugs. I should be able to do that pretty easy then.
Yeah, you can tackle that, no problem.
And
Hey-
running it with this other code for a while is probably not going to cause a lot of problems, or it could.
It actually could because the emission system is taken pretty seriously. After it sees that code for several drive cycles, it can actually limit the power, and it'll give you a message about that because, again, there's always the possibility of it becoming completely restricted, which obviously could do damage to the engine. So, you know, the sooner the better on any emissions code on a diesel.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for the info.
Hey,
'cause this
hey,
check
Fred,
engine
hold
light's
on,
been out for-
and they're gonna get your address, John Ryan. We're gonna send you a bill for this one.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Hey, thank you, Fred.
Oh, thank you very much. You helped out quite a bit.
All right.
We appreciate the call. Hey, John Ryan, I know we said tech tip quiz, but let's go straight to Bobby. Bobby's been holding.
What if Bobby wants to answer a tech tip
Well,
quiz?
I'll say it. Bobby, we're going to give you an option. If you think you may want to take a shot at the tech tip quiz, I'll read the question. If not, we want to go straight to your question.
I'll listen to it.
Okay, here we go. You know all the prizes you win, so we'll jump right to the question. Josiah could
Sure.
not get his car to move. He tried everything. He paid an automobile technician $50 for a card, and the card made it where he could move his car. What kind of card was it?
Okay, let's go to the tech question.
All right.
Let's go
Well,
to
you
the,
can think
You be
about
thinking
it.
about that, Bobby.
We are not going to. It was like an unofficial deal, so we're not going to give you the foghorn.
Thank you.
I didn't.
We're practicing.
All right. Okay. All right. And what's the question, Bobby?
John Ryan,
Yes.
2002 Chevrolet
Silverado 2500 HD.
There's no way there's something wrong with it.
What I'm asking about is when I started, probably it just started happening in the last few days.
Okay.
I turned it on one time, and the cluster kind of like just started and wouldn't let me start it. And
Okay.
it was just like everything on the dashboard is on.
Right.
But here recently is pretty much, say today, 5 out of 6 times I started it, it resets the clock back to 12.
Does it? Okay. And it does it pretty much all the time now. It was somewhat intermittent, but it's doing it more and more.
Exactly.
How old are the batteries? Did you say diesel or gas?
Gas.
Gas, so single battery. How old is the
6.0.
battery?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'd have to look at the, for
Yeah, the
It's a
date
sign
code on
that
it.
it may be a little bit older.
Yeah, my memory only goes back 3 years. Bobby, it's very possible of two things. One, battery voltage is absolutely critical on that truck, especially for starting, because everything's, of course, electronic on it. It's got electronic throttle. The computer's obviously electronic, cluster's electronic. With you telling me that it's restarting the clock or setting it back to 12, that means it's dipping down. It's either losing voltage completely or it's dipping below the voltage threshold to where it cannot keep its normal memory, including the radio. So what I would do, the first things first, that has a side post terminal battery. It has a little 8mm terminal on, of course, negative and positive. They're notorious for weird things like this. If they become a little bit loose, there's a voltage drop there. You might have 12.5 in the battery, 12.6 in the battery, and when you turn that key on, when it's drawing a lot of amperage, if you have corrosion in that cable, if you have a loose cable right there, you might be dropping 5, 10, who knows, however many volts across those terminals. So be absolutely sure those are real clean and tight. Short of that, I mean, if the battery's more than 4 or 5 years old on that one, I would definitely get you a battery, and make sure, because again, this can cause a lot of those issues. The only other thing,
because I've noticed.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
The only other thing I was going to say is keep in mind the battery is kind of the shock absorber for that electrical system, mainly because, if the battery, say if it does have a bad corrosion there or something like that, of course, the alternator is running full field. It's running the entire time as hard as it can, so it can take items out like that.
Yeah, if you got a battery over about 4 years old, I would just, before you do any other testing, just go ahead and replace it. Because that's what happens so many times. People try to get the last little bit out of their battery, and then they end up taking an alternator or some kind of component out with it.
And I put Bobby on hold because we're about to go to a break. Hopefully he'll hold on for us.
Okay, well, that sounds good. We're going to take a real quick break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
I've been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel. There's a voice in my head that drives my heel. It's my baby.
And welcome back to the CNC Auto Show. For all of you that work on cars, I'm going to tell you about something really neat. It's the NTK Sensor Specialist videos. They have 25 training videos on their YouTube channel now, and these really high quality videos show everything from accelerator pedal sensors to washer fluid level sensors, and that's all at NGK Spark Plug YouTube channel. So tune into that if you want to know more about all these sensors that you're working in. It's really neat. John Ryan, we were talking to Bobby.
Yeah, let's go grab them.
Okay. Bobby, we just grabbed you.
Okay.
So Bobby,
the battery is in interstate.
Okay.
It's February 16.
16. Oh, that's a pretty new battery. What about the cables? I'm assuming you went out and looked at it.
Well, I'm in the truck. I'm getting ready to go to work. So.
Okay, gotcha.
2 weeks ago when I got up under it and I started looking at everything because I was looking, changing oil, or getting ready to, see if I need to change the oil and everything. But it was on the positive cable. It was corroded.
Okay.
Quite a bit.
Right.
So what I did, I cleaned off, took me a razor blade and cleaned all of it off. And then I took some of the acid detector spray, sprayed it on there, cleaned it off really good. And then I reconnected it back. And then it's snug.
Okay, so it is snug. What about, Bobby, if the red insulation that's, of course, on the big terminal, did you happen to pull that off and kind of look down in there in the cable itself? Was any of the copper wires corroded or anything like that?
As far as where the main one?
Yeah, where it's crimped.
Right, that's where I sprayed all the spray on that sector there,
Okay.
and then that's where I tried to clean it off as much as possible.
Okay. Now I will say that we have seen a handful of vehicles, because of course those cables are in the Tahoes, Suburbans, and all that stuff. Those cables, once the corrosion gets in there, it is possible for that corrosion to follow the copper wires into the insulation, and it may, the wire may physically look okay. As time goes on, the actual insulation for the wire may kind of grow, so to speak. So I think really what would benefit you is doing a voltage drop test on positive and negative side to see where your voltage drop is, and of course you do that while
And
obviously
also,
starting it.
even though the battery's only a couple of years old, I
Still a
also
load
do a
test,
load test on the battery and the voltage drop test.
One quick thing, I call it like a driveway test, Bobby. It would require two people, but you could turn the headlights on. And this isn't technical at all, so technicians don't use this method, but just kind of get you an idea of what's going on. Somebody could watch the headlights. You turn the headlights on and attempt to crank the vehicle over. And of course, if you see the headlights go completely out, typically that means you just lost all your voltage, like a voltage drop. If the lights dim very low, of course, that could be a bad cell in the battery. The battery's not swelling or anything like that. Is it still, nice and square? You don't see a swelling of the battery?
Looks normal.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, try the headlight thing, and then really a load test would probably be the second thing, and third thing would be a voltage drop.
But I did notice when I first turned on my ignition, as far as that very first click,
Right.
I guess it just turns the power on.
Right.
It doesn't start or anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't lose the clock there. It loses
Right.
the clock when I actually turn it over for where all the lights are coming on.
That's right.
Your inputs and all those, and then I start it, and then
then
that's
it
when
resets.
sometimes that's when it clears the.
Yeah, and there's probably enough battery voltage in there for, like you said, when you turn it to the accessory mode, which is first click, there's probably enough voltage in the battery, and or the voltage drop isn't present because it's not requiring a lot of amperage. When you turn it to the next one, the fuel pump comes on, check engine light comes on, of course, then the starter, that's drawing a lot of amperage, and any loose connection, any corrosion, voltage drop, anything's going to show up when it's requesting or when the amp draw is required. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And I have noticed that it does not, as far as on sometimes that it will have a less voltage, I guess.
Right.
To start it.
Yeah.
I can tell that.
What does the voltmeter or volt gauge say when you just key on? Well, it started good there.
It's usually right past 14.
Okay, so that's running. What about just key on? Not running.
Not running?
Yeah.
I'm trying over there. Okay.
About 12.
Probably 12.
Yeah. And those gauges are, of course, relative. They're not exactly like digital accuracy or anything like that. But, I think that'd be the next test. Of course, the load test on the battery, make sure it can actually handle it, see how many cold cranking amps are, the battery's capable of, voltage drop. And, of course, that between those two tests, you're going to find that issue.
Okay. And more likely, that corrosion is in that cable, just more or less, I'm going to have to replace that cable out.
You can. Some shops, including us, of course, have an end that we can actually put on there. That's just as good, if not better, than the permanent or than the factory one. It's an end that's crimped and then soldered, and of course, obviously, it retains
It looks
its side.
factory, but it's
Actually looks better than factory. I'll be honest. It really does.
Yeah,
And that is if you have enough slack, but typically those anything with that cable normally there's enough slack in the cable.
Yeah, I'm right here on Washington Road at Bobby Jones. So I'm closer to your shop right here.
Oh well, they're open now, so go on over there.
I got to go to work at 9, so that's where I was. This is working out for me as far as trying to get everything, just seeing what things may have be or whatever.
All right, Bobby. We'll hope that helps.
So I can take it on a Monday morning. That way I can just drop it off and leave it there for the day.
That'll work. Hey, Bobby, thank you very much for the phone call.
All right. Thank you all very much for your help.
Thank you. Okay, let's go straight to Dave.
All right, we'll do it.
Hey, Dave, welcome to the CNC Auto Show. What can we help you with?
Good morning. I have an older Grand Cherokee 2000 with a 6-cylinder two-wheel drive. Interested in boosting mileage on it. Mileage is a little bit disappointing. Any thoughts besides spark plugs, and is there anything else that I could possibly be looking at?
A lot more downhill driving.
Yeah.
that should
Sounds
do
good.
it. Dave, yeah, you definitely covered, the kind of the normal maintenance tune-up stuff. One thing that's overlooked a lot is an O2 sensor. An O2 sensor is just like a battery, and over a slow or a long period of time, the O2 sensor becomes slow, lazy. They call it lazy O2 sensor. When it's brand new, it switches at a very fast rate, up and down, of course. And then as time goes on, it switches slow. And what that means is that your computer is getting an input very slowly. And the computers, of course, obviously adjust the fuel and the spark, the timing, and everything. So the fuel trims are adjusting a lot slower too. Which, of course, over a long period of time, that actually adds up to a good bit of fuel economy. So O2 sensor wouldn't be a bad idea. And, of course, unfortunately, that is if it comes out of the manifold, because some of those did kind of stick and seize in there. Hopefully you won't have that issue. It wouldn't be a bad idea to put some penetrating oil on it and drive it a few times and then put some more penetrating oil on there to make sure it's good and soaked in, just to try it. And again, the normal maintenance tune-up. I mean, even a PCV valve on that vehicle. Of course, if it's pulling too much or too much lean air, of course that can cause
That's
it.
what I was going to mention. Also, make sure the whole PCV system
Is
is in
functioning.
good condition, along with even the PCV valve.
Yeah. And then, of course, you can get into the things that, you can see more long-term than short. Yeah, that looks good. Increasing the tire pressure just a little bit. Of course, obviously, you're going to sacrifice a little bit of ride quality, but it's amazing how much that helps. Even like we see some of the hybrid vehicles, of course, with the hybrid, I guess, design tires. They're a little bit harder compound.
Energy efficient tires is a big thing now.
It is, yeah. So, increasing the tire pressure just a little bit, and, not to the max or anything like that, but that would help. Come on, Aaron, what else?
Alignment, if you really want to get.
Oh man, come on!
Alignment needs to be, that's true. I mean,
It is, yeah.
But anything to do with your normal maintenance is
And then-
most important.
and then-
Air filter and fuel. Well, that one doesn't have a fuel filter.
Actually, it might. Believe it or not.
If that one does have a fuel filter, do that. Just a normal maintenance, and that's what we found. It works a lot better.
You're forgetting one of your tips that you always said.
Okay. Well,
Shed weight.
Oh yeah. Get those golf clubs out. You're not going to use them for a little
Yeah,
while.
the jack. You don't need that.
No,
Well,
but those are
great.
the
Well-
main things, Dave.
Well, thank you so much. I'll try to get on that soon. Appreciate
All right, do a study for us and let us know how much it increased.
Yeah.
it. Will do.
All right,
I
Dave.
like that idea. That would work really good. John Ryan, we are pretty much about out of time. We're going to the time clock's on E. We need to pull over, but we'll be back on the road in no time. I'm Aaron Clements with co-host John Ryan Mooney, and our show producers are Dominic Frito, Sandy Klein, technical engineer Zach Llewellyn. We'd all like to say thank you to all you that called in, tuned in, logged in, and especially you that called in to ride with us on the CNC Auto Show. And hello, all of you absolutely wonderful car lovers out there, and welcome to the CNC Auto Show. And I'm Aaron Clements.
I'm John Ryan.
And we all have something in common. We love cars. We love to talk about cars. We love to drive cars. We love to see cars, antique cars, new cars, old cars. We just love them. And that's what the show's all about. And our goal is also to share some information with you to make your car, truck, or SUV safer, to make it more dependable, and to make it last longer for less money and less hassle. And we want to say thank you very much to all of you that tuned in or logged in. We appreciate you jumping in and riding with us on the CNC Auto Show. And we're here to take your phone calls. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern. 706-863-5800. You can also go to ccautoshow.com and watch this show live. You can also email your question in right there. You can watch past shows, all that at ccautoshow.com. And this show is brought to you in part by Napa Heating and Cooling Systems and also NGK Spark Plugs. And the number again, 706-863-5800. We have a lot to talk about. We are talking about garages, cool garages, things that you can do with your garage.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of tips that go out there. Also, we'll be answering those phone calls. But also we have a tech tip quiz. And I'm going to go ahead and lay this tech tip quiz out on the table. John Ryan, we have not been able to get an answer to this tech tip quiz.
Yeah, this one's kind of tough, man.
2 or 3 shows. and I'm not sure what to do. If we should give the answer to it by the end of the show, or try to give it one more show.
Let's play it by ear closer
I
to
think,
the end.
I think that'd be the best thing to do. But I'm gonna go ahead and give the question again. Of course, the winner will receive I answered the CNC Auto Show Tech Tip Quiz golf shirt along with a coffee mug, and it's more of a prize package. Here it is. Josiah could not get his car to move. He tried everything. He paid an automobile technician $50 for a card, and the card made it where he could move the car. What kind of card was it? So if you know the answer, give us a call, 706-863-5800, Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern. And John Ryan, we have Richard on the line, and Richard talked to us a little bit during the first hour, but I thought it might be kind of neat for him to give us a call back because Richard built a home for his 1958 Biscayne.
A 24 by 24 home.
Yeah, and his Jeep, and it made him where it could work in. Richard, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, glad to be back.
I was going to get you to tell us one more time the system that you have, that you've put up, and what you've been able to accomplish as far as making it easier and more fun to work with your 1958 Biscayne. As far as the garage goes.
Yeah, you're talking about the door and the screen
well,
door?
both. Just some of the things you've done. You talked to us a little bit about how you've decorated one wall with things like hubcaps and stuff, and sort of give it its personality. It sounded like you really enjoy walking in and seeing that part of it. Do you have Do you have like a regular toolbox in there that you use, or what do you do as far as the tools?
I built a wall with pegboard and got all the tools hanging on one side of the wall. And I built 2 workbenches so I could put parts up there and work on them or whatever I need to do. Another thing that I added to it, my brother had a overhead heater that he bought through Northern Tools.
Yeah.
And he's had it for many, many years, and it's just enough to put out some warm airflow during the winter.
Yeah.
And you can set it. You have to adjust the knob to set it where you want it to automatically come on. And during the winter, it stays around 68 to 70 degrees in there, so it's really nice during the winter.
Oh, yeah.
Especially a real cold day to walk out there, open up the garage, go in there, and it's not freezing.
And Richard, is that a gas or electric, or what kind of heat?
It's electric.
Oh, neat.
It hangs up on the wall on the ceiling, and you just can get an electrician wired into the box. It's good to go.
And you mentioned that you had fans that blow from one side to the other side, and it just keeps the air flowing through there.
Right. I just built a little shelf at one of the wall below one of the windows and put up just a regular fan to just kind of keep some airflow.
Yeah, circulate a little bit.
And then you have the screen on the door that when you let your regular garage door up, then you can lower this other screen type door that keeps the bugs out and lets the air flow through that way also. Is that right?
Right. You just pull it down and it attaches around with magnets. And while that screen door is down, you cannot let the regular door down because it's a safety brake on it. So that screen door has to be up on its track before you can let the regular door down.
That is really neat. Well, Richard, I appreciate you calling in and sharing with us what you've done with your garage. That may inspire some other ones to where if they're looking for a place to have a hobby or a hobby to do, that can be a good investment, because I know you've really enjoyed yours. And
Richard, I think you should post a picture of it on our Facebook.
I do also.
All right.
Okay. Richard, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, and y'all have a great day.
And you do the same. Okay, appreciate Richard calling in. Okay, the number to call, 706-863-5800. That's 8:05 to 10 any Saturday morning. And John Ryan, where are we heading?
Next up's going to be David.
Hey, David, welcome to the CNC Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Oh, hey, hi, guys. Yeah, I've got a 2006 Trailblazer, and I've talked to you guys before, and you've helped me. And what it is something really strange is going on. It's like once in a while when I'm going up a hill, the tack will fluctuate back and forth, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And now if I accelerate, it goes away.
Right.
But
David,
it's really strange. And I know that the pump, the gas pump has been replaced about 50,000 miles ago, so I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. David, what speed range is it doing this?
What range is it doing? And boy, that's a good question.
Say about 45 to 50, kind of average driving speed?
And slower than that.
Slower than that. Do you feel almost a, how do I describe this? Do you feel it, when it goes up and down, do you feel almost a little bit of a power loss? Kind of like rhythmic with the tachometer? Or?
I don't recall. I don't think so.
The reason I say is like the first thing that comes to mind is torque converter shudder. What that is, of course, the coupling in between the engine and transmission, the torque converter. It has a 1-to-1 clutch in there. At certain speeds, certain loads, final drive, it actually locks up. So it, of course, is basically a unit to where the power going in goes straight out the back of the torque converter. And what can happen is there's a clutch pack material in there that, of course, obviously engages to make that 1-to-1. And when that actually engages, and of course, obviously, the ideal thing is for it to hold 100%. If it starts to slip, the computer sees a slip speed and disengages it. And then it says, well, I'm going to give it another shot. It engages it. And if it sees slip again, it disengages it. It says, I'm going to give it another shot, and does that over and over. So if you're saying the tachometer goes up and down, would you say it's roughly going, say, about 100 RPMs more? It's just, very minor amount? Like it's not going from, 3,000 to 6,000 or nothing like that, right?
No, not that high.
Yeah,
no,
just a minor amount.
It's down in like 15 or something.
Yeah, I would be curious if, of course, a good test drive or a technician driving it with the mindset of the possibility of a torque converter slipping, they know how to manipulate a torque converter. If they had the scan tool, they could actually watch the data PID as far as the, in and output speed to tell if there is a speed loss, I guess. So that would be one thing that they could check. What else, Aaron?
Well, just in driving, and if you determine that you don't feel it at all at like 30, 32, something like that.
Yeah.
Or don't feel it at 55,
yeah,
then you may very well be in that range to where it, just like John Ryan mentioned, it's just in and out. Now, one other thing is if the thermostat is not the lock-in converter works with the coolant temperature.
Yeah,
it has to be up to a certain point before it engage. And if you're running like the temperature, if the thermostat was stuck in a little bit the open position and running
say
like
140 or something like that. Yeah.
You could be heating up enough to engage and cooling down enough to disengage, and so it could be a
David,
thermostat issue.
We should have asked any check engine light or anything like that.
No, nothing like that. And this only happens like once every 2 or 3 weeks.
Really?
It's just the oddest thing, and we'll just start doing it, and it won't last. But we're talking a minute, 2 minutes, maybe at the most.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, David, we hope that helped. Of course, we're all out of time for this segment, so Aaron, take us to a break.
Okay, we're going to take a real quick break, and when we return, we'll be going to Steve, and we'll be going to Willie and Thompson, and we'll also be giving more tips on garages, all that and more when we return with the CNC Auto Show.
Well, if I had money, I'd tell you what I'd do. I'd go downtown, buy a Mercury or two. I'm crazy about a Mercury. Lord, I'm crazy about a Mercury.
And we are back with you with the CNC Auto Show, and this segment is brought to you by Napa Heating and Cooling Systems. We trust Napa Heating and Cooling System products, and you should also. Our number is 706-863-5800. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10. And if you find yourself spending a lot of time in your garage, a cool improvement can be to build a bar that might liven things up, because you see that a lot of times people will build a little small bar, a little fan, and big screen.
Oh, you mean like a setting area, like that drinking bar? Okay,
inside the garage.
Gotcha.
And a big screen television where you can watch the games. And
oh, yeah.
Just a lot of really neat things in that department. It
only makes sense to make it somewhat of a living room.
Yeah, and that's if you're not using it to store your cars or work on different things. You can make it a nice little area that you can enjoy stuff.
Yeah.
John Ryan, where are we going?
Let's see. Steve's next.
Hey, Steve, welcome to the CNC Auto Show, and what can we help with?
I want to try the tech tip.
Oh my goodness. Well, we're going to need to put you on stage. We're going to have to do the whole 9 yards for you. Okay. Now, hold on. We're going to go ahead and read the question one more time. Josiah could not get his car to move. He tried everything. He paid an automobile technician $50 for a card, and the card made it where he could move his car. What kind of card was it?
Let's set him up, right?
Yeah,
I'm gonna say it was a.
Okay, now we're ready.
I know this has probably already been said, but I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna say he paid for some sort of a auto club card, like where you get towing or something like that. Maybe from Napa or CNC or AAA.
Oh, so he just paid the card, and actually the car may have even been broke down.
The card entitled him to have his car moved by
Like
a
the
tow
card,
truck.
like meaning like a membership card.
Yeah,
is
a
what he's saying.
membership card.
Correct.
Now that's not bad.
Matter of fact, I like that better.
I do like that better than our
CNC
than our
to
true.
get one of them.
That'd be
Yeah.
good.
All right, Steve. Thank you. All right,
He
the
gave us a
number to
good tip.
call,
I
it
think we
is.
do need to get something like that.
Yeah, I think that would be a really neat thing.
Ready to try Willie?
Let's go to Willie. Let's do that. Hey, Willie, welcome to the CNC Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning.
Appreciate you being
I
here.
have a Ford F-150 5.4 Lariat, and at 100,000 miles, I replaced the cam phaser due to all the ticking, and it's just making a little noise. So now I have 245,000 miles on it, and it's been ticking again for a cam replacement. And is it anything that can be done to maybe get this service? Because that was like $3,000.
Right.
And like I said, I've had it done once, and I don't want to go that route again. And I
Yeah.
was told to just drive it. I'm driving it right now. It still ticks, but it's noticeable to me.
Right. Will, you're exactly right. Those phasers, that job's very expensive.
It is.
And in some cases, it's a job that's kind of up in the air because you tear it down, and sometimes you find more wear and tear than normal. And of course, at that point, it needs an engine. So it's great that you were able to do the phasers and everything. That way, obviously, you can get some more mileage out of it. Just like you said, though, if it's a vehicle you don't want to put that money in, we've heard those things tick and make noise for 50 and sometimes 70,000 miles before they really give, other issues. So, really with that being said, if it was my personal vehicle with 245 on it, I would do just what you're doing. Just keep the oil changed, obviously use the correct weight, and just really stick to a good maintenance schedule on that and try and squeeze out the goodie in it.
And Willie, one other thing that I'll mention that sort of goes, it piggybacks on what John Ryan is saying, is that with that engine, that cam phaser will not work unless that oil pressure is up to a certain amount, or it won't work correctly, and it'll still cause problems. I would recommend, especially if you were even considering spending money on that engine, spend money on an oil pressure test first.
Yeah.
Because if it drops below, was it 25 PSI?
17 came to mind, but I
It
might
may
be wrong on that.
17.
Yeah.
It's in the book, whatever it is. But we've seen people put cam phasers on there and do all the work and then find they have the same problem.
And that's kind of the tear down, what I was saying. The mechanical pump itself, it could have a bad bearing. It could have a higher tolerance somewhere in the engine. And the only way to find that, of course, would be, disassembly.
I would be real careful on spending that much money on that engine. I believe if you were going to do something like that, I believe I would consider going ahead and replacing.
But Willie, I think the question you really had is there any kind of Band-Aid for that? And really and truthfully, there's not.
Sorta.
Everybody, they've tried from thicker oil. That actually makes it worse because the oil doesn't get to the very tight passages that just physically won't go through them. They've tried full synthetic, didn't really make a difference. Additives didn't really make a difference. I mean, it's just, I don't want to say it's a design flaw because of course it does work. It's just, it's not a 400,000 mile engine like some that are out there.
Just get the rest of the wear out of it and enjoy driving, and I wouldn't go spending that money on it.
My intention is to continue to drive it. I mean, I go to Myrtle Beach, Savannah, Atlanta, wherever I need to go with my little tick. it's not as annoying yet as it was the very first time. Because I used to hate to go through the drive-through. You know, they'd be like, tick, tick, like, man,
Yeah.
what is this?
Sound like a big old sewing
My
machine.
intent is to just continue to drive it. I did switch to the synthetic
Right.
oil, and that didn't really make a difference. But like I said, I'm 245.
Well, Willie, it
5'10",
didn't hurt anything
so,
either, so that's the good thing.
and they suggested just drive it until it quits, and then we'll see.
Willie, we're going to support your decision.
Well, the funny thing is, if I'm not mistaken, your son has the same truck. You gave him the same advice, and he's driving around with a tick, isn't he?
Yeah, now we did put.
You did fix his?
A
Okay.
solenoid, it made it better, but it still got some in there. But yes, we're doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. See,
Well,
Willie,
one
we're
thing
in the
real
same
quick,
boat.
One suggestion I did hear, somebody told me to run some transmission through it, some transmission fluid through the engine. I'm like, that just doesn't sound like.
Well, that is an old-timey trick. I wouldn't personally do it on that engine,
I wouldn't
but
do it.
yeah.
No, absolutely not.
Well, Willie, we hope that helps. Good luck with your truck.
All right, I'm gonna get this 1,000,000 miles out of it, and then I'll get another one.
Fair enough.
That'll do it. Hey, Willie, we appreciate it. Okay, it's time to take a real quick break, and when we return, we'll be going to Eddie and Ben, and we'll be talking more about garages and just looking for an answer to the tip quiz. That and more when we return with the CNC Auto Show.
Barbie doll bed for the girl next door. She tried to pay me with a kiss, and I began to understand there's something women like about a pickup man.
And that's right. We are back with the CNC Auto Show, and we are ready to talk to
Eddie.
Eddie, welcome to the CNC Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Good morning, Aaron. How are y'all doing today?
Just right. So good, I can't stand it.
That's why you're sitting.
Me too. It's finally cooling off a little bit out here.
It is.
But what I got an 06 Nissan Frontier, the 4.0 V6. Got 148,000 miles on it. And it's nothing major, but I've noticed that if I'm sitting there idling at a light or whatnot, and it doesn't have to necessarily be in gear or not, it will all of a sudden, the RPMs will kind of drop just a little bit, and I'll get a slight vibration, but then immediately it goes right back up. And I also noticed that, like, if you're sitting there idling and you go to let the window up, momentarily it will do that, and then the speed will pick back up to normal.
Yeah.
Somebody was saying it could be a dirty IAC motor.
Ooh.
Wait, hold on. Don't ooh yet.
Yeah.
Doesn't have an IAC motor.
No, but I mean, I'm on the.
You're on. Oh, you're on
I'm
it.
on the two different.
This one's all yours. I'll fill in the blanks.
Well, fill in the blank. Now,
Okay.
This will be my side, and then John Ryan will.
No, this is going to be. We're both answer the same thing.
Yeah,
So
and
go
it's
ahead.
probably going to be about the same thing. What I feel like may be happening is the part where you're feeling the RPM drop down momentarily and then back up. That is the AC compressor cycling on and off because, of course, it cycles due to pressure. Now, the reason you may be feeling it more and also feeling it as you're moving the window up and down is you may have some carbon in the engine, and the throttle body may be dirty, and the engine is not allowing enough air to bypass the throttle plate.
Yeah, the minimum airflow is restricted.
Minimum airflow, yes. And that would cause a problem. Now, that could be taken care of with a BG induction service.
That's right.
Excellent service. Now, different companies use different things, but we use the BG products, and it's the BG induction service.
But now I did try it with the AC off,
Mm-hmm.
and it still did it.
Okay,
And it
now you're
will,
messing me up
That
with
was
reality.
No. Y'all are still good. But that was about 90% of the problem.
Oh.
Let me give you the other 10%. That one has the minimum idle relearn with the scan tool. There is no way that computer, once it learns a dirty throttle body, there's no going backwards. You physically have to relearn the throttle body manually because it doesn't know. It's only going to compensate further and further and further for more carbon and more carbon. When you do clean it out, it won't ever relearn the throttle body because it's added the minimum
But he
airflow.
shot my AC theory down.
But
He
that's
said-
true. I mean, it's still the
said
same
the AC
thing.
was off, though.
But it could still dip because we have our minimum airflow is restricted.
Yeah.
So the airflow, I mean, the fuel trims are mixing. I mean, it's going to have some idling drivability characteristics if it does have carbon.
Now, Eddie, you had the whole system in the complete off position, though, right? Or did
Right. I turned the AC completely off.
Okay.
But it will still do it, not every time, but sometimes when you go to
Do the window or something like that.
Window up, and
And
of course
that's-
I know
yeah,
that momentarily puts a load on the engine on the alternator.
Exactly.
Which is like the compressor coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we still think, or at least I still
Yeah,
think the DG induction service be your best bet. Because
I'm just saying you have to do the induction service and reset the throttle body.
And reset the throttle body.
Okay, what would something like that run?
You would run in the range of 145, 165, depending on where you went. Now, ours is normally in the range of 155 as far as doing an induction service.
And is that something that I can come down and wait on it, or is that something I got to leave my truck?
Yeah, normally doing an induction service takes roughly about an hour to hour and a half,
Especially
right around in that range.
The unfortunate part is on that one, you do have to let it cool back down because there's a temperature window. You have to relearn that throttle body in.
So,
So that might take a little bit
A
longer.
couple hours.
Okay.
In
Okay.
a range
In other
like
words,
that.
I could come down there and enjoy your customer lounge for a couple hours and then go back home, right?
Absolutely. I wouldn't see a problem with that at all.
Okay.
And of course,
Okay, Aaron. I will look into that maybe next week because it's not that bad, but I know there's something wrong somewhere, So.
Well.
All right, Eddie.
But
Well,
I
we
will
hope
try
that'll
to
take care of it.
Yeah, I'll try to contact y'all next week sometime.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I can't believe it.
It's time, I think. Hey, Dominic, is it time for a break?
We're not.
Okay, just kidding.
Our time.
Tell us when it's
is
time
not
for a
right.
break, if you would.
I knew something was not right. Okay, where are we going, John Ryan?
Let's go over to Ben.
Ben, welcome to the CNC Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
All right, good to be on the show again. Say good morning to you all.
And we love you being here. Thank you.
Okay,
Love you
what I
being
got is
here.
a 83 Chevy Caprice,
Uh-huh.
and it just turned 300,000 miles 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
My problem is my brake lights stopped working all of a sudden. I checked the fuse. The fuse looked good, but I replaced the fuse anyway. And I checked the brake plunger, got down there to push the brake. The plunger's coming all the way out, but I don't have brake lights.
That's because you've been driving it so much.
Maybe
It's got
that's it.
300,000 miles on it.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Ben, how did you check the fuse? Did you check it with a test light or just physically remove it?
I just physically removed it and looked
Okay.
at it.
The reason I say is I was curious if that test light, or sorry, not if the test light, if the fuse was getting power to it. We want to make sure there's actually power to the fuse. And then the next step's going to be checking power to the switch. Luckily, that's a very simple switch. It's just a hot wire going in. When you apply the brakes and the plunger comes out, it, of course, makes continuity and sends power back to the lights themselves. So, of course, we would check it there, make sure it has power on both pins with the brake depressed. If it did, we'd go to the tail lights, see if we had power back there. Obviously, the problem would be somewhere in between there. Typically, it's very rare you're going to have all your bulbs go out at the same time. So I do feel like you probably have a power loss. No doubt, most common's the brake switch. Probably most inexpensive is the brake switch. If you'd like to replace it, it wouldn't be any harm. It's inexpensive. But that's typically how a technician would, of course, find the issue is basically go from the source, which would be the fuse box, of course, the switch being, what sends the power, and then the tail lights back there also. So.
Okay then. Well, I'll look into that then.
So you need to go over to Napa and get you a $5 or $6 test light, and you can do some troubleshooting yourself.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Hey, John, we really do appreciate the call. Okay, the number to call, 706-863-5800. That's 8:05 to 10 Eastern Time, and that was not John.
That was Ben.
That was
I wasn't going
Ben.
to call you out.
Ben, sorry about that. Now we're going to John. John, welcome to the CNC Auto Show, and what can we help with?
Hey, Ben, how's it going?
Yeah, swap them around.
Well, good morning.
And
you
what can we help with?
Yeah, you were talking about replacing the engine and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, if you can't say, I've got my grandfather's hammer and the handle's been replaced 3 times and the head has been replaced.
Uh-huh.
if you replace, what I'm getting at, a guy had a car with 3 million miles on it, I think it was, and he's had to replace that engine and transmission and stuff. So can you really say that car has that many miles on it?
Well, I mean, technically, I suppose you could because, of course, the chassis and no doubt the body has it. Like you said, it doesn't sound like necessarily the powertrain or the wearable items, even the rear differential, all those kind of things, most likely would have been changed. So you're right. I mean, there's a difference between a car that has, 200,000 miles with all original equipment versus 1 million miles with 5 different engines, 3 different differentials, and all
Right.
that. So yeah,
But if
absolutely.
it's got the same serial number, it's basically the same car. Because like the Beach Boys, there's one of the Beach Boys there, still the Beach Boys. So the basic serial number is there. So yeah, I would say the car has that many miles on it.
The important thing on that is if the driver's seat hasn't been replaced.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
That would be a point. But yeah, I would say same car. I sure would, John. That's a good thing to think about, though.
Yeah, he's thinking,
Yeah.
isn't he?
Yeah.
All right, Aaron, we're already
Oh.
time for the actual break this
Yeah,
time.
it's time for the break. We're going to take a real quick break, and when we return, we'll be going to Alan, and we'll also be talking more about garages, answering questions, and we'll be right back after this.
My pappy said, son, you're gonna drive me to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod Lincoln.
And we are back with you on the CNC Auto Show for everyone that loves to work on their own car or just interested in how systems work. NGK has a sensor specialist website or YouTube channel
Yeah.
that you can go to, and they have 25 new training videos on their YouTube channel. And these are really high quality videos that explain very well how different sensors work. So it's a good place to go to if you want to learn more about the sensors on your car. And are we ready to go to the calls?
Yeah, let's go to Alan.
Okay, Alan, welcome to the CNC Auto Show. And what can we help you with?
Good morning. Really enjoy the show. I've got what I consider a simple question. I need to replace the brakes on my wife's Nissan Altima. Is there any special tools, or I've heard that you have to go and get parts from them in order to be able to work on their vehicles?
They didn't tell you that, did
I
they?
didn't know if I'd be able to go to AutoZone or Napa and pick up brake pads and put on, or is there
Yeah,
anything
Alan,
special about the
there's plenty of aftermarket parts for that vehicle. Some people, of course, have a little bit of a, I don't know, what is it, not biased opinion, but of course, a lot of people think OE is the best. Well, a lot of OE parts are actually overbuilt by aftermarket industries and are built better and, better compounds, nicer hardware. They kind of perfect the OE part. So in a lot of cases, of course, there are some cases where OE part's better, an electrical component or something like that. But brakes, there's companies that specifically only do brakes. So, they kind of master that.
Actually, I prefer aftermarket brakes. We use the Napa ADO
pads, yeah.
Pads, and they have just been excellent.
Right.
And of course, you can go to any of the other parts places.
Of course, yeah.
The Napa ADO has been a great pad for us to use, and we just don't have any issues whatsoever.
That's right, yeah. Alan, as far as your question, special tools, nothing out of the ordinary. Of course, it is a metric car, so of course, like the caliper bolts are 14 millimeters, the bracket bolts like a 17. Do you plan on machining the rotors or replacing them?
I haven't taken them off and looked at them.
Okay.
Hopefully not. I mean, it's a fairly new vehicle.
Right.
And it's just they said she took it in for service, and they said it needed to be done within 2,000 miles. And I said, well, after I looked at their estimated cost, I said, I need to replace the brakes myself.
Yourself, right? Yeah. The reason I ask is for what we would consider a silent brake job, meaning no squealing, no grinding, no nothing like that. It's almost mandatory to machine the rotors. The reason being is, of course, the rotors now obviously have minor grooves in them just from normal wear and tear. And the pads that are on the vehicle now have kind of conformed to that and actually created those grooves. So say if you go buy a brand new set of brake pads and put them on there, now those new pads have to conform to the old grooves from the old pads. So
they need to be resurfaced.
they do. They need to be resurfaced, but too,
Or
weigh
replaced.
out the cost. I mean, they have brake kits now. Napa does that. You get pads and rotors for obviously a discounted rate because you're buying a kit, and then you don't have to worry about taking it to a parts store or machine shop to get the rotors machined, and then wait the time it takes, and then go pick them back up. Sometimes it's just better to go ahead and replace it. And keep in mind too, not on every vehicle, but of course, obviously, when you machine a rotor, you're obviously making it thinner. So the chances of it pulsating, later in the future is, I guess it would happen a lot sooner than if you replace the rotor itself. So keep that in mind. The only other tool that you may not have in your toolbox, and there's a lot of tools that you can kind of replace this with, is a caliper tool that physically pushes the piston back in the bore of the caliper. A lot of people use a C-clamp. A lot of people use a screwdriver while the brakes are still assembled. If it's something you enjoy and, it won't be long, the rear brakes will need to be done. So, you might could just invest in the tool. Of course, Napa has that also. Aaron, tell them about opening the bleeder and why that's important, though.
Well, I normally like to open the bleeder so you're not pushing that old brake fluid that's been inside the caliper. Of course, inside the caliper is where all the heat is, and
That's
sometimes
right.
the brake fluid can get a little gunky. And if you just push those pads, push the pad back up into
Which,
it,
of course, forces the
cylinder,
fluid back in.
that fluid to go
There's nowhere to
on
escape.
up the line, and sometimes it may go into the valve assembly, and if there's any trash in there, it could block a valve assembly. So I like to break the bleed valves open so that when you push that piston back in, then that old fluid goes out of the vehicle instead of up the line in there.
And it also makes the piston go back in a lot easier as far as mechanical strain. So
It does, yeah. So
That's a very good suggestion. That's something I hadn't considered, but makes a lot of sense with the heat around the brakes, especially that fluid, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, brake fluid is nothing compared to having to buy a new assembly or something.
that's
So,
right. And Alan, keep in mind, of course, brake fluid typically goes one way, and of course, when you push the pedal, it's going out to the wheels, so it's not used to the volume amount going backwards. It can actually hang that metering valve. It can hang one of the spool valves for the ABS. So that's the reason why we open it. Now, no doubt, it'd probably be a good idea to have it flushed at a later date, maybe when the rear brakes are due, just simply to keep the brake fluid, not having moisture in it.
So, gentlemen, I sure do appreciate your advice, and very, very informative. And I think I'll just look forward to changing the brakes on her car then. And but I do appreciate all the information. It's very, very helpful.
Well, Alan, we appreciate you calling.
All right, well, y'all take care and have a great weekend.
All right, thanks. Let us know how the brakes turn out.
all right, John Ryan, we're gonna try to throw a lot of real quick tips having to do with garages out because we hadn't been able to cover those real carefully yet. Garages, they're a great place for the kids. If you have a kid that wants to have like a little band or play a musical instrument, consider having that fixed up for that, for a little music.
Make a little corner for it or something like
And
that.
you can use egg cartons for sound reduction inside there. So that's not a bad thing. And you and also it's a great place for a kids friendly room. You can have you can have the garage if you're not using it for your cars.
I've got one.
You do?
Yeah, mine's a giant doghouse.
Oh, okay.
He loves it.
And that's perfect. That's the kind of things that we're wanting to share ideas on, are things like you would use it for your dog house, and that's a good size house for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
He's even got his own couch in there.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Are you serious? Now you're not going to tell me that that he's got a that he's also got a big screen television or anything.
Could be possible.
Yeah, I got a feeling it will. All right, here's another tip. Put a piece of pantyhose over your shop vac to pick up the screws and nails, and then place a cloth or a plastic bag over the hose when you're done to capture the pieces and when you turn the vacuum cleaner off.
And then they fall down.
Yeah, then they'll all fall back down inside there. Another good one, always keep a permanent marker in your garage so that you can mark different things. And you may even consider having an assortment of colors inside there that you can use. And label everything that you put up.
I did that with nail polish. That's a good one, too.
Yeah, and also spiral notebook near the work area, and you can use that to keep track of your vehicle's information, like the oil changes and other items that you do.
I got one.
Okay.
A refrigerator or a
Oh,
beer fridge is what most
yeah,
people call it.
a lot of people use them for a beer
Gotta have that.
fridge or whatever, and we keep water in ours, but
Sure.
we do have a refrigerator out there.
How about a vital thing, air compressor?
Yes, now we do have an air compressor.
Yep.
And a jump box.
Oh, something nice about your garage, you have a outdoor sink in yours.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we
That's
had
a
that.
nice one, yeah.
We have a like one of
I
the.
think they call it a laundry tub or something like
Yeah,
that.
like
Yeah.
a laundry sink in there, and that's been a real good thing to use on there.
Yeah.
Also, another quick tip: we getting ready to run out of time, but pick up small objects and turn a sandwich bag inside out and place a magnet inside to pick up the pieces, and then turn the bag right side out, and then all of those screws that you picked up with the magnet through the sandwich bag
Oh,
will be
man.
stored inside there. Makes it a lot easier to pick up, and just you don't.
Oh, I got one that you got also.
All right, what is it?
Storage bins, like the actual utility cabinets,
Yeah.
to where you can become organized,
Oh yeah.
and a label maker to put all your tools where they
Oh,
need to go.
all that makes a huge difference. John Ryan, we are out of time. Time
Sure.
clock's on E, but we need to pull over for now. But we will be back on the road in no time. I'm Aaron Clements with co-host John Ryan Mooney. Show producers are Dominic Frito and Sandy Klein. Technical engineers Zach Llewellyn. We'd all like to say thank you to all of you that tuned in, logged in, and especially all of you that called in to ride with us on the CNC Auto Show.